All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding the deeply logical operating system running right beneath your cat's seemingly random, baffling behaviors. I mean, if you've ever looked at your cat and just thought, what on earth are you doing? Well, you are definitely not alone. But what if I told you there's actually a fascinating, completely hardwired reason for every single weird thing they do?
Okay, so let's just dive right in. We're going to explore how every strange feline quirk is at its core either an ancient survival tactic, a sensory data scan, or a really profound sign of affection. I know, it looks like absolute chaos on the surface, but as you'll see in just a minute, it is entirely logical.
Theme 1, the inner wild predator. We're starting off by looking at how your modern, incredibly pampered house cat is essentially still a wild animal. They're literally running ancient survival programs right there in your living room. We love to think of them as our fluffy little babies, right? But those brains, still heavily programmed for the wild.
Picture this. You're just casually walking down the hall and boom, your cat launches at your ankles. Our immediate human assumption is usually, wow, that's aggression, or they're out for revenge. But the feline reality, it's a predatory ambush instinct. It's totally not out of spite. It's just that moving objects at ground level instantly trigger this automatic hunting reflex. Their brain reacts to the movement way before they can even process, oh wait, that's my human. And this happens a lot, especially with bored cats who really just need some more playtime.
And honestly, it isn't just your ankles. Everyday things basically become accidental prey targets all the time. Your shifting, wavy hair? To a cat, that looks exactly like a wriggling snake or a lizard. When you're tossing and turning in bed in the morning, you're just creating fresh, live targets all over the pillows. And dangling shoelaces? Oh man, to a feline's automatic hunting reflex, that sudden, unpredictable movement is just completely irresistible. But that irresistible urge creates a hidden and absolutely crucial hazard with those shoelaces. Playing together under supervision is totally fine, but left alone, string is incredibly dangerous. See, a cat's tongue is covered in these tiny backward-facing barbs designed for grooming. And because of how they're built anatomically, once a string starts moving toward their throat, they literally cannot spit it out. Swallowing just continues automatically, and that can lead to major emergency intestinal blockages.
So, moving on. You might wonder why they scratch at the solid tile floor around their food bowl like they're using an invisible towel. It looks completely absurd, right? Well, that brings us to another super fascinating wild instinct.
The reality here is they're not critiquing your choice of cat food. Promise. They're literally just running an ancient hide-it program to save their meal for later. Out in the wild, cats bury leftover prey so the scent doesn't draw in bigger predators or competitors. So your domestic cat sees leftovers, and their brain just automatically fires off this instinct, even if they are literally just pawing at smooth kitchen tile.
Here is another wild survival program in action. If even a single drop of water hits them, shaking their paws is a totally automatic survival reflex. Why? Because unlike dogs, cats really don't have water-resistant undercoats. Wet fur gets incredibly heavy, which makes a predator dangerously slow and, frankly, freezing cold. In the wild, every single second with a wet paw is a second of severe vulnerability.
All right, Theme 2, feline system glitches. These are those hilarious, confusing little moments that are actually just harmless resets and routine biological maintenance. We have all seen this happen. A cat confidently attempts a massive jump, completely misses, and then instantly starts washing themselves as if absolutely nothing just happened. So why on earth do they do that? Well, it actually points to a highly specific psychological mechanism. Biologists call this displacement behavior. Basically, their brain registers that things didn't go to plan and they feel stressed, or maybe a bit confused. Because their brain literally doesn't know how to react to the failed jump, they essentially reset the system by running a super familiar safe grooming program. It is the feline equivalent of, awkwardly pulling out your phone to scroll social media after you trip in public. And then there's the famous blep, that adorable tiny bit of pink tongue just sticking out. They aren't trying to pose for a picture. They're actually just so incredibly relaxed, or maybe they got suddenly distracted, that their jaw muscles loosen and the brain's command to retract the tongue literally never reach the muscles. It's just a harmless, wonderfully cute little system glitch.
Oh, and when they chew their nails like tiny manicure scissors, don't panic. I know it kind of looks like a nervous habit, but a cat's claws actually grow in layers, almost like an onion. Biting them is just necessary hygiene to strip away the dead outer sheath and reveal the fresh, super sharp claw underneath.
Perfectly normal maintenance, unless the paw is red or swollen, in which case, definitely time for a vet visit.
Okay, theme 3, love, trust, and territory. Let's shift gears and explore how cats gather sensory data and express really deep emotional bonds without uttering a single word. Because their love language? It's incredibly subtle.
When your cat burrows under your covers, they're looking for the ultimate sanctuary. They reach peak contentment right there, because your bed checks literally every biological box. You've got the security of an enclosed space, immense physical warmth, and the deeply calming scent of you, their most trusted human. Add you into the mix, and it's essentially a shared modern fortress.
Now consider this scenario because it really changed everything. A cat jumps up beside you and completely turns its back to you. The human perception? Usually we think it's a snub or just plain rude, but the feline reality? It's maximum trust and safety. A cat sitting with its back to you is not dismissing you. It's a profound statement that your presence is so safe, they're deliberately exposing their most vulnerable side. They feel so secure, they don't even need to monitor you for danger.
There are a few other really subtle affection markers you should watch out for. Those gentle face taps without the claws? Just status checks. They're gathering data on your temperature and your breathing. Rubbing their face aggressively all over your phone? They are claiming that warm, glowing rectangle as shared territory, and physically blocking the device that's competing for your attention. And those huge, dilated pupils when they're relaxed? That's literally an emotional high from your presence. Their brain wants to let in more light to see their favorite person in absolute high definition.
And this beautifully captures the meaning of bunting. That's when your cat presses their forehead firmly against yours and just holds it there. It's this deliberate, quiet moment of scent transfer reserved exclusively for their trusted inner circle. No meowing, just a still, held moment that essentially says, "You are my human, and I am entirely sure of it."
All right, finally, we reached the climax of our explainer. We've talked about trust, we've talked about deep affection. So, if they love us so much, why do they suddenly chomp down on our hands out of absolutely nowhere?
Well, the answer almost always comes down to one word: overstimulation. A sudden bite during a petting session is typically a rapid biological reaction to crossing their sensory boundaries. You might have petted them for just a little too long or maybe slightly too intensely, which causes their highly sensitive nervous system to instantly flip from feeling pleasure to feeling actual physical pain.
And there's usually an escalation that humans just completely miss. First, the tail starts twitching. Second, the ears rotate backward. Third, the skin on their back begins to ripple. The bite? That's simply the fourth and final warning. It just happens to be the only one you actually noticed.
Which brings us to a really foundational rule of living with cats. Whether it's overstimulation, play aggression where they maybe forgot the boundary between a toy and a hand, or just genuine fear, the bite is almost always a failure in human translation. It's a boundary you crossed without even realizing it. Every bite is a direct message. It's not malice.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to help you decode your own glitching apex predator. Next time they behave strangely, just pause for a second and ask yourself, are they hunting, are they resetting, or are they just trying to say they love you? The feline mind is brilliantly logical once you actually know how to read the signs. Thank you so much for exploring the fascinating world of cats with me today. Keep observing, keep translating, and keep learning.